everyone, Rich Carlton. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. We will be getting to the training here momentarily, but we have some announcements first. We've been praying and begging and pleading with the great Nick, the great one, to bring us stuff. See that dude right there? So anyway, welcome to the new starting point that we have. It's actually pretty impressive. It looks nice. It looks great. This is X1. So that's not like triple X. It's X1. We'll have X2, X3. They're working on, we're squishing some bugs. So by the time we get to Monday, when you folks all get this, it will be at X whatever it is, 2 or 3 or 4, something like that. So pretty neat stuff. So this is finally here. I can tell you that I'm not totally in love with all of it, but I like the overall design. And once again, once it's mostly bug cleaned up, see, still has that. I don't know if we'll adjust the blue on that or not for the calendar, because this is that calendar thing, right? We have. But the idea is that, they got everything in a hamburger menu, which kind of hides things. It's hard to expose things to that. It's hard to expose yourself like that. So anyway, so this is pretty exciting. This is a new starting point, which actually brings up a good question. How the hell do you get back to the home page from here?
Clicky and then you go home.
Oh, you get home. Okay, because there used to be always like a little home house here, right? Like home house here, right? So anyway, so kind of exciting, right? So it is, I don't want to say on final approach, but the plane is at least orbiting the airport, attempting to land, right? So yeah, it's pretty exciting. This will be the definitive standard for a while for CRMs in the FileMaker platform. If you want to compete with us against us on our CRM, then feel free to do that. Unfortunately, this one is free. So it's interesting. So then we have an add note. See that? It's that. Oh, he's working on that a little bit, popping the status. So we're trying to figure that out. So when you're in home, you shouldn't see the status toolbar, and then when you go to a detail page, it pops it up, because we do need to see. Even though you don't need it here, you still need it to some degree. So it's kind of one of those things you have to wrestle with. So anyway, so that is the opening Star Wars music, right? So many Bothan spies died to bring us this information. So with that in hand, let me hit the upcoming live stream button here. So the upcoming live stream button, if you go to fmtrain.tv, where every day we've got amazing training. It's just so amazing. Great. Anyway, so today and tomorrow is Kyle Williams. We're going to be doing some sort of MBS, that's monkey bread spread plugin. He's doing some sort of like unnatural acts with SQL. So, and then tomorrow he's doing Wolfpacky stuff, whatever that's all about. Not sure. And then Monday is Nick showing us unzipping and showing us what he's been working on. So it's very exciting there. And then, so next week is kind of tricky, because we're going to also be doing the FileMaker certification training over here. This is going to be going on at 11 o'clock. A bunch of people have signed up for this. We have some pre-videos that are being staged and set up. So we got bundle 2. You can buy the bundle, come to our training. It'll be worth its while, I guarantee that. You have to have our complete training. So that's awesome. So for those of you wondering about this, today is day 2 of the apocalypse for Claris. So day 1 was yesterday, or Tuesday. Day 3, today's day 3. They turned off Cloud 1. Initially it was great, and then everyone on the plan decided to call tech support and say, how come my stuff's turned off? And they didn't realize that they had marked Claris's emails as spam, and Claris had been warning them for a year that they were going to shut stuff off. So we've had one customer get kind of sideways with that. They thought they had the year password. Turns out they didn't totally have the year password. Some of their former employees had the year password, so they're trying to chase it down. But out of 150 people we've migrated, it's been pretty good. So, but meanwhile, Claris, if you call Claris, try to get tech support right now, you'll get this beeping noise, beep, beep, beep. For those of you who old school, that's a busy tone, that the phone's busy. If you do get through them, they'll say, please take a number, your number 4,381, and they will call you. Not being serious. I'm not even making this up. So it's kind of ugly. And then, so we're going to start with Kyle today. Margs is very quiet. Now, Margaret has got my sense of humor. Yes, Margaret.
I'm behind. I don't have a headset on. That's why you can't hear me.
I'm going to yield, because she can handle Kyle better than I can, because Kyle starts going, oh, you're going to SQL yourself. No, SQL. So those of you who don't understand medical stuff, So like you can use preparation H if you have a hemorrhoid, but see Kyle uses SQL, right? So if you have a hemorrhoid and it's not good, then you can use SQL to help you with that, right, Kyle?
I don't know about that.
All right, so Kyle, you have the bridge. It's like Ensign Kyle, try not to wreck the starship, okay?
All right. Okay, so today, today we got a MBS version of SQL. So it enables several different functions that aren't natively possible in FileMaker. So I'm going to just go ahead and get my screen started here. Okay, so today we want to discuss how can we use SQL and FileMaker to create tables, to create fields, to create records, and do all the things you can do in an SQL database that you can't natively do in FileMaker. So this is kind of the grand finale, all the extra stuff that you can do with SQL that you couldn't do before. So here I'm going to go through all of these different capabilities. So I created a whole bunch of scripts here, and we're going to kind of review all of this. So first, before I create a table, let's go ahead and go into the Manage Database window. So here you can see the table that we're going to create here. It's called Test Table 01. And you see it's not in my list at all. So in this table, it's going to have a number field, a text field, date field, timestamp field, time, and a container, and a primary key. So this kind of shows you that you can mark this as a primary key. You can make global fields, so you can make any of these globals just by clicking it and back and forth. If you want to index any of the fields, you can. And as far as auto-enter default values, I found that it only works with varchar fields. So I tried several different ways to do it with number fields, with dates. I found that only the default text one here works because that's varchar and the rest aren't. So let's go ahead and create a table and see it's kind of running some scripts. And now it's successfully created a new table with all the default fields. So we'll go back into the database manager and you can see there's a new table. The new table has 7 fields. And if I look at the fields, we can see that we have a number. So we got the number field, text field, date field, it's right here. So all the fields came through and we can see the different types here. So we got the container. So container in SQL is blob. So you have to define it as a blob. For number field, it's integer or decimal. I think it's int or decimal. And that'll give you a number field. Oh, there's decimal. Okay, so I did have an example of that. So ID, this is the ID field, and it also does a number field. So there's really no difference between int and decimal. They're both number fields in this case.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. The default has to match the data type, I assume.
Yeah, so SQL is very sensitive about data types. So this data type has to match the data type. But it's weird because trying to do the date, even though I have a date here, it doesn't work with that field. Even though I put it in that format. So then I tried to use cast to cast it as a timestamp and see if that would work, and that didn't work either. So I only got it to work with this. So you can see auto enter here, but even though I got timestamp here with auto enter, the auto enter didn't come through. But my text field, if I go into there, you can see it has the data default text here. So that did work with the varchar field. Here I have the number 0, so I'm not sure why that doesn't work with integer. Maybe if I use decimal, I don't know, but I couldn't get it to work either. So the number field's right here, and it should say 0 right here. So it's not really I think Monkey Bread is commenting. Pass it with quotes or not?
Because it's about Lynn, I think. Oh, no, maybe not.
Yeah, so see, this wasn't passed with quotes, but maybe that's what's going on. Maybe in the script I got quotes around that text field, or the field here. But yeah, we can play around with this. I don't know if we have time to do that right now, but let me go ahead to this next one, and maybe we'll try that. We'll kind of run through the script here, and obviously I don't want to do that. So number field. So here we'll try with the decimal field, see if we have better luck. So I'm going to run the debugger this time so we can see what's going on. Maybe we can troubleshoot this. So I'm going to select outside the field to save that change. So let's go ahead and create this table, and it's going to be test table 02. So different name, it's got different fields in it. So see, I have a sample parameter here, which uses SQL to convert it to JSON. And then it's parsing out the JSON right here. It's only so much screen space here. So we can kind of see what's going on here. Let's see, if it's number field, we wanted to change it to a number to get rid of the text. So that maybe that's it, because right here, this indicates string all the way through, and maybe it's trying to pass it as a number. So I might have to play around with that, see if I can get that to work better. So I can have it say, if it's a number, don't use quotes, do it as a JSON number, which might solve that problem. So go over here, continue through. So JSON, we're getting our parameter. Okay, so data viewer, maybe we can change, so it doesn't show quotes around that. Oh, that's is global, so that's our Boolean value anyway. So varchar, so I'm just trying to see if we can troubleshoot this as we get to that. So that's going to be, what field is that? So it's going to be this my number field that we're going to be looking for. So it's going through, it's creating the fields. What it's doing is it's trying to build this variable here. So create fields variable, and it's putting it all together at the end into one call. So it's creating a variable called R, and then it's using the MBS and execute file SQL on idle. So it does have to be idle at the time you call this, otherwise it won't work. If it's actively doing something, it won't create a new table, obviously. So then we're putting in the table name and then create fields and then our file name. So what's going on in create fields? So this is where, let's see, primary, integer, decimal, varchar. I'm not seeing any default values in there. Oh, default values may come later, actually. I think it adds it down. Oh, right there, default values. So we haven't gotten that far yet. So here we're going to loop through the JSON and default fields. See, JSON default field. Sorry, I'm trying to troubleshoot this at the same time to make sure that we're testing with an actual number to see if we can get a number to work. So if the field type is varchar, oh, okay. So I actually coded that. So I may need to edit that. Nothing like troubleshooting live on TV here. Okay, so what's that? Trying to figure out what line I'm on. All of my numbers are gone. Looks like right here. So default fields loop count. That's not doing anything. Default values. Oh, default values down here. Okay, so alter table name, alter field name, set default field value. If this field value is in quotes, we got quotes here. So maybe that's the problem right there. So I have quotes on either side. So I think Monkey Bread might have been onto something. It's actually not, oh, undo. So quote is just ending the string before it. So we have the little apostrophe on each side, which works as a quote in SQL. So I think you may be right. So we'll have to play around with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this, I think, and because it's going to loop through, and I've already got it isolating varchar because that's the only thing that's working for me. And let's just go ahead and run it. So now it's created it, and maybe we'll remove this part and see if we can run it again without the quotes in there. See if we get the number working. So if I go into here, now we should have a new table. So there's our new table that showed up. Going to go into here. I don't know if anybody caught this, but that's part of a Chicago song. Thought some people might catch that and find that funny. Anyhow, so we got several fields here, and we're going to look at my global field here, and it is global, so it did capture the global. And index, so we have the ID index and the number field indexed. So you can see here, this is indexed and that's indexed. And our primary key being the ID, this has the unique property selected, required value. So almost everything that a primary key has. The one drawback I found to this is this ID does not have a serial number. So you actually have to go in here and turn it on. So that's kind of annoying. Maybe if we get the default field working, maybe we can use that. But that still doesn't do serial number. That just does data here when you do default fields. So I'm not sure. But hopefully maybe Claris will update their engine when they make their next updates, because I know they're rebuilding the back end and for future versions of FileMaker. Okay, so we're going to try to update that script. That is create a new table. I think I have it down here. And default fields. So let's try commenting that part out. That part. I do love this about MBS is it highlights the beginning and end ifs. If you have loops, it'll show you the start of the loop and the end of the loop like that. And it highlights the exit. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so default fields, we're going to try to see what happens if we remove this. Set default and here. So that removes the quotes around the field value. And we'll just try this again and see what happens. So now that we've removed the limitation of varchar on both ends, let's go ahead and check this out. Okay, so I'm going to go here. We'll delete both of these. So delete. Okay, so now they're gone. And let's go ahead and see if we get the number 0. So this gave us an error. So that could be because it's also doing quotes around, or it's not doing quotes around the text here and here. So that could be what's causing the error in the syntax. So maybe we have to do, if it's a number field, then use quotes, otherwise don't. Oh, you notice the error message only came up twice. So that's probably these two default values and it didn't occur for the number. Let's check it out. So it's number field indexed. Let's see, is that the right one? So we want to look for my number field. It did it. There it is. Okay, so it does work with numbers. You just have to get rid of the quotes around it. So awesome. Thank you for that, Christian, for that tip. So we can get it to work with numbers. We just have to remove the quotes around it. And then we have to add the if-else if it's a text string, put the quotes around it. Otherwise, don't do the quotes around it. So now that we did that, let's just do another experiment, because this one has cast and it has a date here. Maybe in the time, maybe we can get the time and date to work now. So I'm just going to see, it might produce some errors here because we don't have any quotes around our text. So I counted 4 errors, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it worked with the 0. I don't think it worked for any of the others. So let's just double check and see the number field, auto enter 0. So that worked. I don't see any other auto enters. So yeah, so we can get it to work for numbers. We just have to do some handling of the data to get that to work. So now we're going to get on to some other fun stuff. So we have this whole new section here that wasn't included in the previous releases of this file. So we can go through each one of these and see how they work. So this, I put a little reference in here. Oh, that's for, that's SQL reference. Okay. Sample JSON parameter. So I did a sample JSON parameter in each of these. And here we need the file name, the table name, and what default fields we want. So the table name, of course, we can use get current table name. File name, you can leave empty and it'll do the current file. Or if you're trying to create a table in another file, you can use the file name to do that. Okay, so in here, if it's empty, then we're just going to create the table. So I got some default information here. And then if you have a JSON parameter, it's going to use that, whatever you pass it. And then we have the call right here. And then it'll check to see if there's an error. If there's an error, it'll give us a message. Otherwise, it'll say successfully created new table. So what are we going to create? So it's going to create a new table called the new MBS table. And it's got a primary key. So it's got a few fields in here. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to save. And we'll go ahead and run this. And just like that, it created a new table. Yep, there it is. Okay, so we got our new table and the 3 new fields. So if I go into there we go. So that's an example of how you can create a table. See, Christian's got a few more comments. You can do more with schema changes via OData interface on FileMaker server, including changing or renaming fields. Okay, yeah, that's through OData.
Because Labo had 404 had a question about can you rename a field? So.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yes, you can. So we'll get to that. So we have update fields. We can delete fields. We can create indexes for fields. So yeah, we can do just about anything. I don't know if I have rename a field in here though, but we can delete a field and add a field with a new name. I'm not sure if there's a rename in here. Huh. Well, so creating a new field in a table. So if we have a table that already exists and we want to create a new field in it, this demonstrates how to do that. So table name, new field. So let's go back into here. And we have our new table here. Let's go ahead and copy that. I'll bring it in here to the JSON. And we'll add this test new field to that table that we just created. And you can see we also have varchar here. That could be int, decimal. There's a lot of different field types, which I demonstrated here. So we can put any of these different field types in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and run. I got to save first. Then we can run this and see if it worked. So create a new field. If I go back into here and go down here, we should have 4 fields. And we have a new field. So that worked. If we go back in the script menu, create a repeating field in a table. So with this, I think the main difference is we use the bracket with the number in there to show how many repetitions we want. So I've put some notes in here. You can either use int or decimal. Doesn't really matter. They both create numbers. So let's go into here. We can see that I'm going to go ahead and use our new table. And then employee ID. So we'll add a new repeating field for employee ID. It's a number field with 4 repetitions. Okay, so let's save. And we'll try that. It says it successfully created a new field. So let's check it out. And oh, there it is, employee ID. And It's got 4 repetitions. Right here, you can see the number 4. So that works. So yeah, this could be really helpful if you want to try to use any of these to quickly create a database so Claris has a default fields file, an XML file where you can have it create all the fields with a new table, but you can also use MBS as you're developing to create your own set of default fields. Because oftentimes you're using different computers, you have different, your XML files different on each of your computers. So you could create a script that's always the same on all your computers because it's in a script. So that's kind of one of the benefits of using this method. So here we have test new global field. So this is creating a global field within a table. And here we have varchar, our field type, and then we add global to the end of that. So this could be int. So we'll create a number field. And I'm going to go ahead and save. And we'll try running this. It says OK. So if I go in here, we have a new field here. So we got 6 new fields. There's our new global field. So it's global, it's number. So that one works. So if we wanted to create a new record, so here we're getting out of the database manager and actually going into the table itself. So in here, I'm going to go to the context table and I'm going to create a new record. So you can see here we got data 0, data 1, data 2. These are the different fields we're modifying. Let me go into this. It's a little bit more clear. So we have several fields we're updating. And here I demonstrate how you can do timestamp fields or time fields or date fields. So when you're using these types, you have to use cast, otherwise it won't work. So when you're using text, you put the quotes around it. When you're using a number, there's no quotes around it. So that's very important that you're using text with text fields and numbers with number fields. So this works even though that's a string. But we can change that to number. There we go, JSON number. And that should still work. If it doesn't, I'll change it back. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. Oh, it did error out. Okay, so maybe that does have to be string. Okay, so if I change, I'm just going to do copy paste here. Sometimes you don't know something until you try it. Of course, this one's not working.
While you are bug fixing, I'm going to ask you a question real quick. Can you set the comment when you create the field?
I have not found a way to set a comment. I've looked and I tried to find something in the documentation on it. I did include all the documentation within this file, within the zip file.
Yes, the PDF.
So if I go into here, there's the missing SQL reference, which has a bunch of stuff. And then Claris also issued their SQL reference. And I think it was around page 20, way down here, where it starts talking about building files. Geez, pretty sure it's page 20. Yeah, create a table. So when it actually tells us how to use these different functions that aren't native to FileMaker. And that's because it's also useful in a script step for execute space SQL. It's a script step in FileMaker to work with SQL databases. So they offer these. The plugin uses that capability and calls it on FileMaker itself. So that's how that works. Monkey Bread only had so much power over this function because really they're just enabling these functions to work on FileMaker itself instead of using it on SQL database. So really cool that we have at least some way to use these other functions. And this explains different examples of how to make the calls. But I don't know that there's anything in here about getting a comment to work. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything. But yeah, I put the documentation into this file so you have it and you can look for it. If you find it, let me know. That would be great to be able to add that. So I'm trying to figure out, I bet one of these field names probably changed since I originally created the file. And because I'm not dynamically referencing these. So if I go to contacts, since I'm in contacts, I could use my SQL function to dynamically references. So see my numbers, number field. Oh, I know what it is. Okay, so these are the new fields that I was going to create with the other calls. And because I changed the table name and I created these fields in the other table, these fields don't exist yet. So that's what I get for changing things up, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and create all of these fields real quick. Copy. So if I go back here and I do this real quick, and I put the table in there, save, run. I bet this will solve the problem. Actually, I didn't see any of those fields in these calls. So maybe because the fields have to exist in order to edit the fields. So if I'm creating a new record and these fields don't exist, so my timestamp, my time, my date, and it has to exist in the contacts table for it to work. There we go. So I'm not seeing any of those fields here. So all right, so we'll make this real quick here because now I do want to create these. So I think tables, if I go to one of these other tables, we have, did I put it in here? No, of course not. Okay. So sorry, I'm moving kind of fast here because I don't have a lot of time. But basically I want to just make these fields. So if I go here to where I can see the fields, I can go into here, go into contacts, go into fields, and then we want to make that a timestamp field, create, and then my time. So time, change, no, not change. Okay, my bad. That's what happens when you get in a hurry, start fumbling a little bit. Not change. Create. There we go. Create. There we go. Okay. Time. Create a time. Create. Already exists. Oh, there it is. It's because I needed my number. That's what I need. My number. Create. There we go. I think we have them all now. So make sure the first name, last name. Last name. Okay. Hopefully now this works. So what happens because I created all this originally and then I changed all the field names since I created the scripts. So yeah, it's frustrating. I should have tested this over the weekend.
Well, admittedly, the last weekend was somewhat busy.
Yeah. I'm not sure where the error is coming from now because all of this should exist. And I changed the number back to string. Try to make sure everything's correct. Numbers, yep.
Did you change first name to last name by accident? Think you're missing either first name or last name fields.
Okay. Oh, so there's our last name.
Yep.
So I was trying to match these up, last name, and then EF.
I don't see.
Where's my first name?
It doesn't exist.
Name. I must have. Don't know what I did with it.
We are doing this live, so it's understandable that things get shuffled.
Yeah. I don't know what I did with it.
Yeah, and the comment shows first name, last name, so that implies that.
Oh, yeah, right. So if I accidentally named it the wrong thing, this would tell me what name last. Okay, so that's what happened. Name last is the actual last name. Last name is the first name. Okay, so last name is first name. First, change. And then name last is last name.
But that means you have two last name fields, right? Because then you have another one named last name?
So if I go into here, it should automatically update it. First name, last name. So now I have the correct names in the correct fields. All right, this better work. Oh, seriously. Okay, so it does work. I don't know why it's not working. I will have to troubleshoot this, and we'll come back to it another time.
Okay.
Hopefully we don't have a whole bunch of problems now. So yeah, here we're using that same last name, or field name, last name, Williams. Okay. So here, is it referencing replace field contents? And this should have the record number, I think. So, yep, I should have gone through all of these and double checked. Because, replace field contents. That's going to replace everything in the table. Okay. So if I go into here, contacts. So we're looking at the contacts. And here it's contacts. So if you do the file name, you have to actually do the extension as well. Contacts, last name, to Williams. So here's our last name field. All right. So let's go ahead and try that. There it is. Okay. Yay, something works. So now everyone has the same last name. So let's replace field contents. Replace field contents of a repeating field. And we'll see what that looks like. So we're calling the current file name. And again, this could just be empty. We don't actually have to get file name in there. But if you're looking at another file, then you're going to want to use the extension in there. So I just wanted to leave that in there so you can see what has to be done. It's not going to recognize the file name unless you have the extension. So here we have my repeating field 3. I'm just going to double check, make sure that field exists. Okay, and then it's going to replace it with the text test. Text does need to be surrounded by apostrophes. Okay, so if I go into here, I'm looking for a field called my repeating field, and I'm not seeing it. So go ahead and create that, and we'll go in here, and we'll say storage repetitions, say 10. And if we go here, we now have to add that. My repeating field. I'm just going to pull it over here next to the other one so we can see it nice and big. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to go to the contacts table and look at that new field we just created. Oh, apparently we had 3 repetitions in it, so I might have to change that real quick. Then we want to update all of those fields. Oh, that's the repetition within it. So because it's repeating field, it's going to be the third repetition within each of these fields. So for some reason I was thinking it would show all the repetitions here. Maybe that's got to be in layout mode or in form view or list view. Okay, so let's go back here and I'm just gonna save it and let's try running it. Values from all repeating fields. Not sure. If I go into layout mode, layout, setup, and then views, and do list view. And I'm just going to delete all of that because we're only interested in our repeating field at the moment. So, go to here, my repeating field. Okay. So list view. I know why it's not showing all of those repetitions. It's because I have to actually go into here and I have to list how many repetitions I want to show. There it is. Okay. And I want to do it the other direction because we're in list view. So we'll do that. And there we go. And now we can see we have 1, 2, third repetition. It replaced all of the third repetitions in every record. So that's what I was expecting. And if I go back into here, we can see all the repetitions like I was expecting with the repeating field. Wow, that's really wide.
I mean, it is 10 of them.
Yeah, it's 10 of them. But yeah, this is what I was expecting to see. I'm like, why don't I see it? So I had to create an actual view like this and then modify the specifications of this field in order to show all of the repetitions in layout mode. So, okay, so next, let's go back to our script workspace. We want to replace the field contents of several fields. Okay, so let's go back into this view and let's see what fields we have included. So here it's including all these other fields that we were having trouble with before. So it'll be interesting if this works. So it did.
Woo.
Look at that. It updated everything. So
everyone is now Richard
all the Richards
Carlton.
are Richards.
There's
all the last names are Carlton. So that did work. So we go back here. So now we see what the replace field contents of several fields does, all in one call. So you don't have to go to each individual one and replace all the field contents of each individual one. You can now do it with just the one call right here, set variable with this and using this SQL. So you can put all this into one script step if you wanted to. And then it can just replace all the field contents of all those fields. In case you have some replace field contents that does a loop that it replaces based on other fields, maybe that could be very useful. So I can see some use cases for that. Looking to see if there's any comments yet. I need a Richard board. So I'm just reading that. Simulate.
That would be funny.
All right, so the value of a single repeating field sets all the values of repetition from a single field within a table. I feel like we just did that already. So maybe that's a duplicate of this one.
Well, I think replace field, like single repeating field. Was there
one we have
for,
where?
Like, multiple?
Oh, so like if one field where the ID equals 2. I'm not sure why that's not included here. Okay. So let's try adding this. Copy. So where ID contacts, so where ID contacts equals 2. And is that a number field or UUID field? It's a number field, okay. And oh, right here, you can see. So let's go ahead and copy that. We'll bring that into our script where the ID equals that number. And we're looking at the repeating field. And since we already did 3, let's we'll do 2. So we're not doing the first one, we're doing the second one. Okay, save, replace. There, did it. So replace it all with 2 with test in the second repetition. Oh, but it was only supposed to do the first one. Okay. So
honestly, I know you probably feel really frantic, but watching you bug test is actually super interesting.
So field name equals test, set, table. So we're updating the table, setting the field name equals test. So I think it's missing the where functionality, and we can probably pull that from one of these other ones where we have update a field. So this one also uses a where. So if I go down here, we have, this is what I'm missing. It's missing this section here where it converts the where into something it can use for the function of where ID. Where ID, okay. So our ID is right here. And so we need to update that. And ID equals, so apparently I hard coded this one. So 50101. Okay. So let's try updating a single field and see how this does. So first name changes to my new value. So that's going to be pretty obvious. In this first record, it'll be this cell here. And apparently, just in case it follows this instead of the other one, I'm just going to take this out and put that into quotes. Just want to cover the bases, make sure that we're seeing the result. 50101. So either way, it's going to work. Cross our fingers. A new value. There it is. Okay. Yay, worked. So, all right, we skipped a couple here. So that one we felt it needed some work. Multiple repetitions on all repeating fields. I feel like we did that. Oh, so multiple repetitions. So we have repetition 2 and 3 both being updated in the same call. So what are we updating it to? Repeating field. So value 02, value 03. And field data. Okay. So it just cleared them all out. So that other button was in German. That's from the MBS website. That's this error message here. So, because I copied that from MBS's website. Equals abort, yes. So okay or abort instead of cancel. Thank you. So Ruben filled me in on that. Thank you, Ruben. Oh, so this is why it updated those fields. So if I wanted to use the JSON that I had to update it to the other values, I still needed to update this. So the value 01 and so they're all different here. And let's go ahead and it has an apostrophe. It's got 2. Oh, I'm on the wrong side of the apostrophe. Okay. I see. There we go. Save. And repetitions of the first three repetitions. There it is. 1, 2, and 3. Awesome. I love it when things work. Okay, so updating several fields. So again, this is using the old JSON from when I put all this together. So where ID equals. Okay. So we have where field name, where repetition 0 field. Well, it helps to go like this, I think. Repetition get where. So we're getting the field name, field value. This is not formatted properly. Apologize for that. So make it a little bit easier to understand. We want to do something like that. Okay, so we have the field name, the operator, and field value. So this is where I was trying to make it dynamic, that you can use this parameter in order to do this task. Update several fields. So we have all these fields. Is it going to do it in every single record is my question. I think it will do it in every record. Let's give it a shot. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I should have exposed those fields. So yeah, our first name, last name is all Kyle Williams now. I noticed, oh, that's the middle name, not the full name. It's gonna, full name's over here, okay. So we have our full name in reverse. So it did trigger all of these auto enters. So that's cool, because we'd probably want that to trigger all of that. Create an index. So this is how we create an index in a field. So we have, let's go into here. So in our contacts, we're going to index the first name. Let's make sure it's not indexed before we do this. So if we go to first name, I can see it's already indexed. So I'm going to remove that index. So we'll just say none. So now it's no longer indexed. Then let's try creating an index. So successfully created an index. And if we go back to the first name, we have our index. So that worked. Drop an index. So this is the opposite of create an index. So we can create an index or remove the index. So that's what that means. And this should be the same JSON parameter. So we have our field, our first name in our context table. And we're going to remove the index that we just created. So successfully unindex the field. If I go back into here, we can see the first name no longer indexed. So change the default field value of a field. So this is where we were trying to change the default value for a text field earlier. So we're changing the last name. We're giving it a default value here. And the default value is going to be FileMaker. So if I go into here and I look at last name, there is no auto enter, there is no default value. So let's go ahead and run that. And updated the default value. And there we go. We have auto enter data and FileMaker. So that worked. Awesome. And then query value of a repeating field. So finds all the values of a repeating field from a single field in a table. So contacts repeating field 2. I don't know if, did I finish this one? Well, let's see what it does. Oh, there we go. So it's querying the value from the second column, and it's returning the list. So that did work, because that second column is all value 1, 2, and 3. So just to kind of show that, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. We'll just change a few just for demonstration purposes. And let's go ahead and try that again. And we see 1, 2, 3, 4. So it shows us all the values of that repeating field in that field within the table for all the records. So that could be useful. Query a list of FileMaker record IDs for a given table. So let's see here, we got our JSON. So file name, contacts. Oh, so this is getting a list of the record IDs for the table. All right, so let's go ahead and run that. And now we have a list of all of our record IDs. So that is actually true. That's our first record ID, 5202. If I go up to the very first record and I open up the data viewer and I go to watch and I do get record ID, evaluate it, 50202. So that was correct. All right, so moving on. Set a timestamp field to now plus 1 hour. So 1 hour from now. And it's going to do the my timestamp field where the ID. So let's update this ID to the current ID. All right. And then equals. So I'm just going to comment this out real quick, so I can get the first ID and make sure I get the ID correct and I'm not guessing. So using MBS's nice little functionality here, we can do execute. And now I know exactly what to enter here. It's going to be 50101. We'll get rid of our comment. Say OK. I'm going to save. And let's go ahead and try that. Oh, I should have exposed that timestamp field first. Okay. So where is that field? It's not showing, is it? My timestamp. There we go. We'll bring that all the way to the start so we can see it. And as you can see, it looks like it did update it to our current time. So January 6th, 2003, plus 1 hour. So it did update it to 1 hour from now. At the time that I did it, it was 3:02. So that is correct. And just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to do this one more time. So we cleared the field, populate it, and there it is. So let's go back into the script workspace. We're almost done with these. Delete a field from a table. So in here, we're looking at the contacts, new field, new text field 01. I'm going to copy this and create it if it doesn't exist. So see if it lets me create it. So now we have a new field here. I'm going to put this in creation order so it's easier to find next time. So it's the very last one. Okay. So now let's go ahead and run this and see if it successfully deletes the field. Created a new field. That should have deleted the field, I believe. So yeah, the field is gone now. So that's what we created. And I don't see it anywhere in here anymore. If I go back to sorting it, new field is nowhere in here. So yeah, successfully deleted it. So cancel. Question from YouTube: if FileMaker will support extended SQL from the ExecuteSQL function inside of the third-party add-on like MBS.SQL to include updates and inserts, why not just include it natively? Yeah, that's a really good question. That's something I've asked Claris. I'm like, why don't they enable this stuff? So the only thing I can figure out why they don't enable deleting, I can see not deleting tables or deleting fields and stuff through these formulas. Maybe they can disable that feature, but to disable, being able to update fields and update repetitions and modifying records in any table you want, I don't see why they disable that. I don't understand. That is a great question. So
yeah,
maybe
Jeremy,
if we all keep bugging him.
Yeah, maybe if
we all keep bugging Claire's.
Send Claire support emails about as you want. I wish we had a better answer for you, but sometimes Ruben suggested that he doesn't think it'll be used enough, which is possible. I don't know a lot of major SQL developers beyond Ruben and Kyle.
I know it's something I would use if it was native to FileMaker.
Yes, but
I can understand
with FileMaker is not the norm for most FileMaker developers.
Yeah, true. It's something I would love to be able to just say, create these records in this other table that I'm not currently in, that it's not related to my current table, so I don't have to create a relationship just so I can delete the other record through a portal or something. I could just say, hey, delete these records. I don't need them in some other table, or modify tables and other records. Even though you don't have the relationship built yet, that would be awesome to be able to enable that capability. Currently, MBS Plugin or base elements are the only ways I know to do that. So today we're discussing MBS. So delete all records in a table. So that's very similar to truncating a table. The difference between deleting all records in a table is it can do cascading deletes and delete related records. Truncating will delete all the records in the current table and abandoning all those other records. So orphans all the other records instead of deleting them also. So that's the difference between deleting records and truncating the records. So here I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these records from the contacts table. So we have our table name contacts. We're performing fm.executeSQL, delete from, and then our table name. And so that's 5,000 records. So that took a little bit of time. And now let's go back in here and we'll try truncating. I don't know if I have another table with that many records. So for comparison reasons. But truncating would be faster because it's not deleting any related records. So I'm just going to invoices. Oh, there we go. We got a whole nother table of 5,000 records, same number of records, and we're going to truncate, and we'll see if there's any time difference. So remove column. Apparently, I didn't update something. So execute, truncate. Okay, so that explains the error message. So I didn't update the message, sorry. So that's the error message. So apparently there's an error in, because it's looking at the other table, of course. Invoices. Let's try that again. Okay. Save. That was actually quicker. So truncating again is faster than deleting all the records, because delete all records deletes all related records. Truncate, it orphans any related records and it just deletes all the records from the current table or whatever table you specify here. So really cool. Yeah, truncating is so much faster, especially when you have a lot of related records. So I do have some other stuff in here if you want to randomly create records. So we're in the invoices. So I could run this and I could say, how many do you want to create? And we'll just say 10. And just like that, I have 10 with randomized data. So I'm using custom functions that are included in this file to do that. So again, I can go back here. I could say create, let's say 50 records. And it's usually pretty quick. So there, now we have 60 records, all randomized data all throughout. So I think that could be useful for creating sample data. And I was hoping I would have time because I do have a whole nother section in here for custom functions, and this shows explaining how I was able to create all the sample data using several different sample data functions like sample phone numbers. But of course, we're already after 2 o'clock, so I don't really have time to go through all of this. But I shared the files, so you're welcome to go through all of this and check it out. You can see how fast it's able to create all this sample data. So pretty cool.
Yes, and we will update the sample file with the fixes, I think. So.
Yeah, I'll work on fixing the sample file.
No, you're good. But people just want to know, like, can we get the version after the one with the live stream fiddling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's a question from Lynn. Hey, you've converted to Discord. Welcome to Discord, Lynn. The FileMaker SQL ref shows to use the precision for a field like. You can read that yourself, Kyle. Does that impact
first
the
name
FileMaker
varchar
field?
20?
Yeah.
So varchar 20. That has to do with how many characters you. I think it's a character limitation of the field. I don't think that matters in FileMaker. I could be wrong. As far as how many characters you can have in a field, I don't know if there's a way to limit that in FileMaker. I'm trying to remember the rules around the varchar function in regard to that with FileMaker. Varchar. So there's usually it's varchar 255 or I think 256. So maximum row size. So varchar 255 stores 255 characters. That's what I thought. So it's a limitation on how many characters can be stored in a field, and I don't think that's relevant to FileMaker. So this could be anything you want, I think, in FileMaker, and it'll work the same. So I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's relevant in FileMaker. So it's then FileMaker has its own limitations. I don't recall offhand what the maximum character limit is in for a field in FileMaker, but it's way more than 255.
Isn't it like 30,000? Or am I thinking of the calculations?
This is one of those topics for next week for certification. So it's one of those things I need the answer to get over that hump,
Yeah.
to get certified.
Weirdly need a number of characters in SQL.
Yeah, it is weird.
I'm sure there's some weird obscure answer for that the dude who wrote the code initially had to do to get things to work.
Yep. So yeah, I do have 36 different entries in here. There's a ton of custom functions in here. You're welcome to play around with. So you can see I have 51 items in here. So yeah, there's lots in here. I wish I had time to go through it all. I do have like Thanksgiving, Easter in here. Sql error codes. If you're using base elements, you need that one. So base elements, I don't know if they have a function for error codes, but I have a custom function here that gets the error code for whatever number they return. I was going to try to add base elements into this, but I was like, that's just going to make the presentation take way too long.
Yeah, I was
so
about to
it's
say.
so much work and to create all these scripts.
You all have a good one. Thank you very much. I think we're good. I will see you tomorrow, Kyle.
Yep, we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!